All right, today we're talking about, are you playing to your vision or are you playing to your schedule? We've heard about this in years past. What does that mean to you, Mike?
Yeah, um, I've well, yeah, I thought about this last night and again this morning. I won't say I have mixed emotions about this, but I certainly have mixed, different thoughts about it. Um, I'd rather play to my vision, right? I'm just, that's just me. I'm not uh, I'm not a detail-oriented guy. I like the big picture. It's more fun, Working the details is not my forte. Um, I like to shut my eyes and meditate and visualize what, everything should look like and is in my mind is going to look like. So I'd have to say with me, the vision comes first, right? It's
Okay.
just who I am. I've learned through the years that uh, I have to play to the schedule to some degree. Um, what I mean by that is I've 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 got to prep, right? Um, in the short term, if I don't plan what I'm doing that day, um, less gets done, honestly. If I'm thinking in terms of the office, if I don't plan um, the reports, right? If I don't take time and look at the people that are coming back for their day one or day two, and I don't plan that, then it doesn't go well. Then I can't do 4 and 45 minutes or whatever the number is. Winging it never worked as far as dealing one-on-one with a patient and patient growth. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Keeping them in the office, knowing day one where they're going to be day 14. If I didn't plan that, it didn't go as well. But my overall goal for them was the vision, and that had to come first. Um, and that goes with other things in the office too, whether it's marketing or if I didn't have a marketing schedule for most of the year, if not the whole year, it just didn't get done.
Right.
If I didn't plan out my team trainings and my team meetings, they didn't get done. So, um, yeah, I played to a schedule in order to keep me focused. Otherwise, I wouldn't get as much done. But without playing to the vision, bigger picture wise, I wouldn't be where I am today. That makes sense?
Sure, it does. Maybe I draw it out of you guys a little bit more. What I meant by playing to your vision versus playing to your schedule. If you look at your schedule and you say, oh, I only got these many people today, and you try to fill up the spaces in between with other stuff to do, you're not really playing to your vision. What you're doing, Mike, with your pre-preparation for your reports and your marketing, all that is playing to your vision. Playing to your
Okay.
schedule is just playing to what you see in front of you. And you're not really looking at growth and looking at going big picture. And maybe
Well,
that's easier for you guys because you hit those big numbers pretty quickly in your careers. But for most people, that when you're stuck at 100, 150 a week, sometimes you have those big blocks of spaces where you just aren't really working at that vision. You are okay. Here's where I'm at, and this is what I'm going to do today.
in regards to that, I could tell you early on when we still had paper schedules. Um, I had one of my first CAs would type. She would write out the schedule for me, typewritten, and all the spaces were filled. And I can tell you that it wasn't me. I don't know if it was my uncle or whether it was CJ. Immediately said you can't do that. That schedule's got to have open spaces in it.
For growth.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And you got to be visualizing new patients that aren't even on a book yet to the point where we were making up names and putting them in the book. I mean, literally making up names and writing them in the schedule book as new patients. So in that regard, Brad, yeah, I think we almost always played to our vision,
Right.
you know, fill the void, right? Create a void and fill it.
What does that mean to you? Exactly. What does that mean to you today?
Well, I think the universe doesn't have any they don't ha the universe doesn't have any, what's the word I'm looking for? The universe has to fill a void. That's what it's supposed to do.
Right. The
Um,
door is a
that's just
vacuum.
what it's created to do, right? So, what does that mean for me creating a void? Well, it certainly doesn't mean the bank account. I don't want to empty the bank account and fill it up. I've had friends and family that do that. But as far as the office goes, yeah, yeah, I think we always did that. What does that mean to me? That means exactly what it says, you know? There's always room for growth. I think in terms of my life, how many hours in a week are there? I'm certainly not filling them, um, but they're there to be used, you know?
Terrence, what does that mean to you? Playing to your vision versus playing to your schedule.
Well, remember that when you talk about, time of growth, that is what did you do in those times of space, right? So I used to just talk about what it was going to be like to fill the schedule, right? We would always take the paper appointment book and write in, and they were still using one at the office, write in what does it look like to have 10 new patients a week or 20 new patients a week, and the reports that go with that. Where would they go? How would they fit? Same thing with the paper appointment book, which was great back in the day. That was that you would have something that had more than you could fill. So we had a huge paper appointment book that, at the time, uh, probably when we were seeing 700 plus a week, you know, but the it for one of the staff, I still remember she said, why don't we go to the digital one, the one on the computer, which has infinite space? And that immediately opened up because, when you have paper at that volume, then you're erasing, you're moving, all those sorts of things. So that became a capacity block, but and it still becomes, like Mike said, you have your procedural stuff, right? Play to your appointment book or break it down into those points, but you got to be constantly talking about your vision. So same thing in the down times at any number of volumes in between, I would just walk around and act like I was adjusting people. I'd
Oh
go
yeah,
into the table,
absolutely.
do those sorts of things, or again, walk out and talk to the staff about, the vision, and also, well, who's not been here,
Hmm.
procedural things, both aspects of that. And still some of the greatest advice on what snow days is a good example is my wife was very good about making sure that I would love every person I saw that day, whoever came in, whether it was one person on a snowy day or your schedule was normal, right? That you would remind yourself to give gratitude for the people who did come. That allows you to, right, to grow more and to give, serve more people by serving more people, right? So take care of the people in front of you, very important, but then continue to have the vision. And I was really tried to avoid looking at the appointment book. I'd be aware of the reports I had and would be prepared for those. But, our motto was we take a new patient anytime. We
Right.
always felt the process, that was always the challenge, which we've spoken about before. If you have 5 new patients walk in at one time, can you handle that? And, again, most offices would say no, they wouldn't do it. They'd immediately try to schedule everybody out. And we would just say, come on in and figure it out.
We'll
That
figure it out. Yeah.
still you know, you, it's the failure of medicine and chiropractic that you have to do everything right in that first visit. It's like
Yeah.
going, why do you think it takes, all day to be at the emergency room? Because they have to do everything, right? And if you go back the next day, they're going to go and start over and do it again versus we're not, that's not our system. We shouldn't be playing that system. You can do a decent history, do a palpatory exam, get a lateral cervical, and
Schedule.
if you need to, start some level of care if that's necessary, even if it breaks the rule of not adjusting on the first day, right? All those sorts of things. But if that person's acute, whatever, you do what you need to do. Or if you have 5, you do what you need to do. We just spoke about that at my brother-in-law's 60th birthday, that his first day on a Tuesday was a Tuesday after Memorial Day, and we had 17 new patients in that afternoon and 125 adjust, whatever it
Yeah.
was. And he still talks about that one of the guys that he just took in the x-ray, checked his posture, right? Palpate, shot a lateral cervical, and he was a great patient for the next 30 years till he passed away a couple of years ago. Uh,
We used to take the x-rays and not even develop them, take them and put them in the back in the box and in the dark bin, and then later today, process them.
exactly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
gotta do what you have to do,
that's
right?
right.
It's interesting
Absolutely.
you said, when we were super busy and we'd get a law, I never ever went and sat back in my office. I stayed out at the adjusting tables,
Right.
moving around. And if I had paperwork to do, I would bring it out and put it on the counter and do it and stay out there and just, you know, it was adjusting time. It wasn't sitting at your desk time.
Right. Same thing like we spoke about. Don't do, try not to do paperwork or any intense paperwork during patient care time, right? So even if there weren't any patients there, that you were ready to take care of people and in that mindset. That's why I never minded going in on a Saturday or Sunday to crank out 2 or 3 hours of paperwork because that
You
would
didn't
allow
have to
me,
do it. Yeah.
right, focused on patient care. Yep.
And now you're getting into what I was thinking when I created this topic was because most doctors would, once they got that slow period, would go back to their office and now get on their phone or their internet and start browsing Amazon or the sports scores or whatever. And
Yeah.
we talk about in our office the prime time priorities. During our adjusting hours, the number one priority is the patient in the office. The number two priority is the patient that should be in the office, somebody that's
Hmm.
calling in, somebody that's missing an appointment or is dropped off. The third priority is attracting new patients. We want new patients. We want 5 new patients coming in at one time. And the last thing is everything else, which
Right.
includes paperwork, calling insurance companies, all the mundane stuff that needs to be done, but shouldn't be done during your adjusting hours. That's, in my mind, what's playing to your vision. And Mike, you hit the nail right on the head. You stayed at your adjusting table and you either brought out a book, maybe you brought out some paperwork, something you could put aside real quickly when the next patient walked in. That's always been the biggest joke in chiropractic. How long does it take to adjust a patient till the next one walks
So the
in?
next one comes in.
So you've got to get out of that mindset. If you're playing to your vision, you're playing to that office full of people and your team being able to handle that flow on a consistent, joyful, grateful endeavor. Because I've seen a lot of staffs. It's happened to me where you get a bunch of people coming in and people start to freak out, and that's a tough thing to overcome. But with repetition and practice, you get to a point where when we used to say this, the bus came in and everybody piled into the office at one time, you're ready to handle it.
But if you're not talking about that before it happens,
Right.
or when you get whatever that is, and that's different at every, so the first time we did 60 people in a day, for some reason I remember at the end of the day coming in, my tie was off to the side, I was a little disheveled, I was so happy, but you still had to come back and talk about, because as the doc, you would see the moments of breakdown in procedure, whatever that might be, but also they should have joy in the breakdown of the procedure because that's how you learn from
Yeah,
it.
you
If you
grow.
don't, yeah, and if you don't talk about it and say, "Hey, did you notice
Yeah.
so and so got out the door without a goodbye or a verification of their schedule, whatever it might be," you have to be seeing that all the time and telling them. And even if you can, I would try to do that when it would, you go out and there's 30 or 40 people in the office and look at the staff and say, "Isn't this great?
Yeah.
This
Right.
is what we want." You know, it's chaotic, it's loud, but it should be joyful and fun. And you've got to remind them that it's joyful and fun, that it's not hard work, that that's not the time to make a phone call, that's not a time to do
Yeah.
verify an insurance or do a piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
Take care of everybody in front of you. And then, and same thing when when they're gone, then you come back and you say, all right, now work through batching these people in. What
What's,
calls do you need to make?
yeah.
Is your money right? You know,
Right.
so
What
that,
was the priority in that
correct.
crisis, right?
You're
What-
teaching them how to
Yeah.
layer their process
Yeah.
because you're constantly,
Let's train on what the priority is in that process when you've got four people standing in front of you and both lines ringing on the phone, right? And you're already working a project. What comes first? Yeah, you got to train on that stuff, right?
talk about it.
But
Yep.
that's we don't get to that point unless our visions are big, right?
And if your vision's big, you're talking about it so
Yeah.
that when it happens, they're not surprised.
And I would venture to say, I'd be bold to say that if your vision is big enough, the answers are already there. You just have to speak them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
speak them to
Yeah.
truth, right?
And 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 at the to actually parlay on that, I'd say if your vision is big enough and there's that kind of hectic situation going on, and you've spoken your vision to your team and your patients, they're okay with how hectic it is,
Chaos.
you know?
Oh, they're loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how many times that the office was so busy and it looked like things were just going off the rails, and I would literally stop and walk out into the waiting area, because we had the waiting area, then we had the hot seats, right, and then the one big room, the adjusting room is full as crap. I would stop and walk out front and make a couple jokes,
Sure.
talk to the people just to kind of like a reset. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, everything's getting a little crazy here, a little shitty. Let's just walk out front, take a deep breath, tell a couple jokes, tell everybody everything's cool, and then hit it again, right?
No, I had patient. I still remember a patient. There's people lined up in the hall, and he looked around and said, in about 2 minutes, because we had the tractions and that, he said, all these tables are going to go ding, and
Yeah.
all you people are going to go here, and we're going to go here, and we're all going to be good. And same thing. If you wait 5 minutes, 7 minutes, right, all those things
Yeah.
would clear out. That
Yeah.
was, if you didn't come at the right time at our office, you'd think we didn't see anybody,
I know. I had
right?
a I had a an episode once where the office was just bananas. And I was walking from one table to the other, and I did something that, you shouldn't do. I made a little comment, a little complaint about how busy it was, you know, run one of those things. And the patient, he lifted his head up off the table and he looked at me and said, "Well, doc, stop asking us for new patients."
Uh,
I was like, "Oh, all right. There was a lesson learned right there. Right?
Mhm.
right.
Keep your mouth shut. Don't complain. You're getting exactly what your vision is." Yeah.
Correct. Well, yeah,
Uh,
and yeah, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it, right?
yeah.
So to clarify, not clarify, but to uh, just reframe what you've talked about, Terrence, is that you pre-frame your team by telling them what would it look like if 5 new patients walked in here or 20 patients came in at one time. How would we handle this? And you actually
Yes.
train on that. And then afterwards, you would have a post shift or a post rush huddle to work on any of the nuances, the details that needed to be taken care of as a result of that. How did that foster your growth?
Well, I mean, again, I still think it comes from talking about it all the time, right? That you're um, acting as if, that's how's it going to look? How's it feel? How's it taste? What are all the pieces of how it's going to look? Each person can have a different vision of what that will look like. So it would be like, our each page of our sign-in sheet held 75 people. So it would be, I'd say like, so if we have, how's it look at the end of the day if we have 4 full sign-in sheets? Is that good? Is that how you can picture it? Or when you're writing down our stats at the end of the day, do you write down 275 adjustments, 5 new one? What does that look like? What is your anchor? Because I would say I can't picture 275 people, right? But I can picture how I would feel, the energy that how would you walk out that door that you participated in serving that many people, that knowing you're in the 1% of the 1%, right? How, so is it, because each person would have a different thing. It'd be like, how does that success look like? What does it look like for them? Is it the sign-in sheets? Is it writing down the stats? Is it, a little bit of sweat on your collar? Is it the spring in your step? Right? All those different things. Is it knowing that you're going to get X amount of dollar bonus at the end of the month, whatever it might be? What does that look like? But to me, the biggest part was always talking to them about, if you're participating and genuinely a team member or helping us reach our vision, you can't put that here and then just leave it here. That affects you here, and it changes who you are outside the office, right? So you're going to be a better mom or dad or whomever it might be. And I would always say, shame on you if you don't know that, right? Because then you're just limiting yourself. You can only do it here, but you can't, right? Because for the team, you have to transfer that bigger vision so that it's part of their lives, right? You're going to be a better mom because you did a great job at this office, or you're a better dad, or whatever it might be, your sister or brother, whatever it is. That was imperative, because otherwise it's just my vision.
Yeah.
Right.
That's yeah, it's just my vision. And we've all done that, but it's way more fun if everybody buys into it and then realizes it's going to help them be better people outside of the office, right? You can't, what was it, Gandhi? You can't be disciplined in one area and not have it affect all areas of
Right.
your life. So that was really the part of it. And Brad, that's also an evolution, right? So we're all at this end of the spectrum all through, all over the years. I'm sure, all of us, there was, days you definitely played to your schedule, because early on we were all taught to play to our schedule in a way. Go check how many adjustments you're going to get, when are they
Yeah.
coming,
Yeah.
when did you report, when are the new, right? That you're, I would say, boxed in by that, as opposed to, here's my vision. It was always, well, we're going to see 200. It's Monday. Well, we're going to see 250 people today, and it's two, these sorts of things. These were assumptive. And in turn, when you didn't perform at that level, the vision would be like, we're not celebrating what could we have done better, right? That would be the post huddle, the gratitude for the people that did show up. Could we have served one more person? Get them to say yes, right? And then, well, let's do it, right? Let's do it. So I would always ask for that at least for a few minutes of their drive home, that they would not think about it, but affirm for the higher vision, right? Think about 5 new patients, or think about 200 a day, or think about whatever it might be, and then let it go, just like I would do. Try to do my post drive, and then at a certain point, I'd stop and put that away till
Thank
the
you.
next day.
Yeah. I think you hit on something that for me, that was a very old memory, and something that was maybe I didn't completely understand and poo-pooed to some degree, was the old DE stuff. And early on, and even in WLP, people would say, how many are you seeing? Right? Well, I'm seeing 300, but I adjusted 120, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the epitome of, are you playing to your vision or your schedule book? Well, me being a smart ass and, already over 350, pushing 500 at times early on, I would be like, what are you seeing? I don't want to hear that crap. I'm seeing 500. That's what I'm seeing, and,
Right.
there's a little bit of shot to my heart here going, I should never, you know, you're seeing what your vision is. I'm okay with that. Put the numbers out there.
Right.
Forget about what
You
your
bring it
actual
into
paper. Huh?
speaking it into existence.
Yeah, forget about what your appointment book actually looks like. What are you saying? What are you seeing? You know, you better be able to back that up though. You know, you can just say I'm seeing, but if you're not putting the work in to your vision, because you do have to work your vision, don't you? You have to read, you have to meditate, you have to teach. Like your team you were just talking about, Terrence. You have to teach their team what the vision is. Otherwise, how do they understand what you're saying? It's going to make you a better mom. It's going to make you a better sister, right?
Right.
The vision's bigger than what we're actually doing, right? If you can get them to understand their vision, then yeah, they will. They'll be a better person, right?
You know,
Well, it's kind of like with all that stuff, move your feet when you pray, right? That's the other part that somebody asked about creating urgency. I just had that urgency all the time then, because
Yeah.
if you're putting that vision out there,
Hmm.
and even if it was just to myself and my team and my wife and kids, whatever, not everybody, well, then I had an obligation to fulfill that vision, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so that created urgency in me every
yeah,
day. And I would say if there's anything that I miss, it's that. I don't
yeah,
have any urgency anymore for because there's nothing that of that level of service to pursue in a
yeah,
way,
yeah,
other than grandkids will say that sort of thing, but that's not exactly the same um, sort of thing. And maybe it's because I have entered whatever phase we're talking about, that trying to tell myself it's okay, and still coming to grips with that, or trying to figure that part of it out. But
yeah,
uh, as I've have told my son, and with your son Brad, that enjoy this, because the where they're at's the best time. It's so exciting, so much peaks, and yes, if you're not cautious, deep valleys.
down. Yeah.
If you're smart, it's more like this, those
That 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 good
more
learning
more
curve, right?
more plateauish, right?
Yeah.
But irregardless, it's the most exciting time if you're constantly working to improve yourself in all aspects, in pursuit of service, in pursuit of your vision. So that's why I did the neuro. That's why I ran a
Hmm.
marathons. That's why I got up and exercised. That's why I would meditate. That's why I would be frustrated. That's why I would be mad. That's why I would be,
Yeah.
right, would have a go bag to go to a soccer game so I could drop them off
Yeah.
and then go over here and do tapes and meditation and books until that game start, whatever it might be. That urgency there's a lot of joy in that.
I want to circle back to one thing that you said, Terrence, and that talking about buy-in.
Talk about what?
Buy-in,
Oh, buy-in.
getting your team to buy in. You look at at the Super Bowl, when NHL championship, whenever they're the Stanley Cup, whenever they're hoisting the trophy, they always say the same thing. Our coach got us to buy into the system. And that is our job as leaders, to get people to buy into the system that we have, whatever that system is. And the more you can do that, and more you can create benefits for your team to be a better mom, or a better husband, or a better sister, or whatever, you are fulfilling that mission in life. So I wanted to make sure that we touched on that, and maybe expound a little bit about how important that is.
Well,
Well,
I mean, it's crucial. And same
yeah.
thing, I think that oftentimes the toughest thing with staff was sometimes they don't believe you.
Right.
They don't believe who you are. And
Right.
so you constantly have to demonstrate that by, here's the books I read, or here's
Yeah.
what I talked to, those sorts of things, because relative to a lot of them, what we do outside the office is superhuman.
Yeah.
That you have a family, that you're reading, that you're exercising, that you're saving, that you get up early, you stay up late, whatever it might be. They there's certain ones that don't believe you, right?
Yeah.
And but you have to continue to demonstrate it
Yes.
over and over and
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. But
And, and your actions speak louder than words. So you bring them the books, you say,
yeah,
read the page, here's the podcast, or here's
yeah,
what it is, or here's the handout. This is what this means. And you're constantly framing, you take care of them, right? You adjust them and you're talking about what you're doing, right? All those pieces. And
but
even then, there's X amount who, give you the yes, and
well,
they walk outside the door and
yeah,
they're
yeah,
they're saying he's full,
yeah.
shit, whatever it might be,
Well, yeah,
right? And that's the most frustrating, over
it,
the years that I mean, I can remember this one staff person, and she gave her notice, and I, whatever, and she had something in the car of mine, and I remember walking out, and her car was just full, just a pigsty. And I was like, you didn't buy into anything I said. You were just shaking your head, because otherwise this book I gave you wouldn't have been just chucked in this pile of crap back here and you never read it, right? That's when you find out who they are, right?
yeah. And you know what's funny is you say, we have to demonstrate it, but we do, but we can't just demonstrate it just to show them that it can be done. That's contrived, and they'll single that out right away. You
Right.
know, they're looking for us to falter just so they can say, see, you're not doing what you. So our purpose has to be strong. Our vision, everything we do has to be truthful, right? It has to be honest because they'll pick that up. But you're right. We have to demonstrate it, but we have to be that person too. Doesn't mean we can't falter. We are human, but they are looking for that human side of us, aren't they?
They sure are. And
So
it would all, it's also
yeah,
good when you did falter, but I would share my I would share
yeah, yeah. I mean, you want to be vulnerable. I mean, but you don't want to be exposed. You want to be real, but at the same time, you have to be much, much stronger than even the message you're giving to them. That's
yes,
tough. That's
it
tough.
is very, very challenging.
That's tough.
It's
I
very challenging.
understand. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
reminded about many, many years ago when I started coaching high school baseball. The head coach looked at me during the preseason warm-ups. He goes, Brad, you never have to cut a player. They always cut themselves. And I found that with staff. If
I
I
did
had
too. I do too.
team people on my team that did not embrace the chiropractic lifestyle as we talked about it, and they didn't last very long. Or if they did, they were very unhappy, and then we had to let them go. So again,
Right.
you weed through the ones that you can and love them as Freddie would say. You love them and bless them and on their journey.
Yep.
That's all that we can do as leaders.
Yep. See you down the road.
Yep. No, that was always interesting. Always interesting. Definitely.
I think if our vision and what we do in the office is solid in our principles and our faith and our beliefs, this goes without saying. Then it comes through even when we are weak. It
Right.
really
Well,
does.
Brad, I think to tie, the, for the purpose of anybody who might watch this, is most chiropractors now, I don't think, have much of a vision. Um, you know, I'm not sure what their vision is. It certainly isn't a level of service like was thrown
No.
out to us and or to the generation before us. As we've discussed before, most of it is reversed engineered of, well, how much money do you want to make? And then, well, how many people do you want to see? And now they're all taught that, 200 a week is high volume, so we'll even, if you use that number and you want to make $1 million a year, then then that's, $55 an adjustment and
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And so they work backwards from money as opposed to, uh, a level of service, to others and volume. We always started with volume. I mean, that was
Yeah.
where it started. It wasn't that I didn't want to make money. And for me, making money meant savings. That was really my driver was, well, I'm going to serve this many people so I can save this, which is for my family.
Right.
and give back this,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
in service. So yeah, I will never say that I didn't have finances and that didn't play into it, but it was driven by service, and I don't see any. It's still like I was going to go down when I was in Florida, going to go down to Palmer down there. It's about an hour from our place. Anyway, people came and visited longer than I anticipated. And so I didn't get down there, but I still was going to do what we've talked about and just go in and go up to a table of people in the cafeteria and say, what
Hey.
try are you guys in, or what quarter? And just say, well, what's your vision? What do you guys see? What is chiropractic to
Yeah.
you? What's the most important tool that you have in your tool belt? And or what's volume, or what do you see your practice? What's it like? What's it going to be like? And um, of course, anytime you say even 100 people a day, people joke on it, much less 200 or 300. But uh, it still comes back to that of, I'm curious. They're reverse engineering. Probably because of student
Yeah.
debt. Again, that's probably driving some of the conversation.
Ooh, it
But
is driving
nobody,
some of it.
yeah, nobody in the schools is talking about volume. There's nobody talking about that. I can't believe they
No.
are.
Was
Well,
it
that's why it's
when we
important for us to.
yeah, when we were younger at the end of the week and even at the end of the month, what is the stat you looked at first?
Patient visits,
Yeah.
adjustments.
Right.
Yeah, I never looked at collections.
No,
I didn't. That wasn't the first one I looked at. It might not even been the second. It was
no,
always the numbers,
the
patient numbers.
adjustments.
Yeah.
Always the adjustments, then the
Yeah.
new patients, then
How
the
many
client.
people was I serving?
Yeah.
How
Then
many
the
people
kept
did I put
appointment
my hands on?
ratio. That
Hmm?
was always mine. The adjustments, new patients, kept appointment ratio were the first three
Yep.
statistics
Yep.
I looked at.
Yep. I don't even think I started looking at PVA till I was farther in practice when I actually realized what it was. It was a measure of how good I was getting the story across, right?
Right.
That's the way I look at it. So
Right.
yeah, but
Exactly.
Terrence, to your point, I think it's driven by student debt, but I also think one of the drivers is people get into this profession uh, because they think it's something other than what it is. Do you want to be the doctor, right?
Yeah.
How about if do you want to be the chiropractor? Do you want to change people's lives with the adjustment? I would I don't even want to know how many people start chiropractic college and never even had said the word subluxation. Be interesting to know. I don't know that I want to.
Yeah. No, you don't,
You
or
know,
heard it, much less.
I was looking at just this morning. I was scrolling through the feed at Facebook and counting how many coaching firms or chiropractic companies were out there advertising, and I think in like a 15-minute period, I counted nine, 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 two of those nine. I'd say were addressing chiropractic using the terminology that you or I would use,
Right.
right? Out of nine.
That's why it's so important what we do.
Yeah,
This is our urgency, is to try to
yeah,
reverse that trend
yeah. And you know
and
what?
affect as many people as we can
Yep.
to create a vision for service for the service that we were taught.
And I hope we're able to sway some people. You know, I'm not going at this with the desire to turn the profession around, although I would like to see that happen. Uh, I just want to sway some people and get momentum going. You know,
Right.
so
So
that's
true.
all.
So true. How's your son doing, Brad, with everything? And
You had a great week, huh?
Yeah, he did what he's doing well.
good.
He's doing well. I got to get him to be more joyful. He's he's uh he's pretty tense right now,
Yeah,
but he's coming along. He's
yeah.
for being. I mean, he's just coming up on his 1 year anniversary. I think he's doing pretty well.
I
What do you
think
think,
he is
Mark?
too. I think even though he's coming up on his 1 year anniversary, I'll say for the first probably 4 or 5 months, I don't think his head was in the right place. So now that he's got his head kind of head in the right direction and he's thinking a little bit differently,
Mhm.
and that's school, right? That's coming out of college and thinking you have all the answers, right? And he said something to me the other day that was really, I'm paraphrasing it, that he's actually thinking properly now. So
What is
he's
he thinking?
thinking he's thinking more like his dad.
which
Uh,
was so, he didn't want to do that.
No, man,
No,
he wanted to
no.
do it different. He wanted to do it differently, and
Yeah,
that's actually what he said. He kind of said, "Why would I do it differently? There are things that I don't even know how to do yet." So yeah, yeah,
Good.
yep, yep. And it wasn't the chiropractic part; it was just the business part, you know.
right.
So yeah,
Excellent.
I saw something the other day on why it popped in my head. It said, "Get go ahead and get your worldview from a clown, and it will always be a joke."
Hmm,
And I thought,
interesting.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. Who are you talking? Yeah. Who are you talking to? What are you reading?
who
What are
you
you
getting
thinking
your
about?
where you getting your vision from and your
Yeah.
purpose from, right?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, there's just not enough people talking about it. I still say it. When we grew to the next level was when I met Fred,
Yeah,
and
no
he
question.
was he said 1,000 a week, and I still remember saying I said, you mean we're allowed to do that? You know, nobody had ever put that out to me, and it was like, okay, we can serve
Yeah,
at a higher level. There's something
yeah.
else to shoot for, right? There's and
Look, I always knew my uncle saw, I don't know how many he saw a week. And I remember being around on weekends when he had like an open house, right? And seeing like thousands, hundreds, and that maybe 1,000 people there. You know, he was always made fun of. He had a monkey running around and a goat running around, and had chicken dinner, chicken barbecues going on.
sure,
But you want to talk about energy? It was like being in a carnival. It
right,
was happy. People were having fun, and I remembered that. But I was never there during the week to see the actual practice, right? Running at 1,000 plus a week. So
right,
the numbers were always talked. I always knew that it was something that you look, that was the benchmark as far as he was concerned, right? So if you didn't do that, you were kind of all failing. Even
right,
at 500, you were, right?
right,
Uh, so um, I flew up to Boston to see uh, the George and Gambale's office,
right,
who were, they were doing that. And I stood in there for a whole day, and I don't know what the numbers were, 325, and I don't know, 10 new patients that day. And I'll be honest, it didn't look like any different than my office,
right,
right? At at that point, maybe 90 a day and two new patients, three new patients. It didn't look any different. It didn't
right.
look chaotic. It looked really smooth. And I remember Dwight, um, at the end of the day, I think it was Dwight, I don't think it was Tony, said, "What do you think we saw today?" And I was like, "I don't know, 125 and three new ones." And he said, "No, 325 and nine new ones." And I was like, "I can do this. I just saw it. It's
Right,
doable, right?" So with you, it was you didn't know you were allowed to do it. With me, it was like I had to see it, right?
right.
I had to physically see it. So,
Well,
and
I
then my
mean, again,
office,
nobody's talking about it. They're not.
no,
It's just it's
no,
not out there.
no,
That's why we are. We
Yeah,
are talking about it, and we're going to keep banging that drum. And like Mike said, we may not turn around the whole profession, but we can
no.
turn around one at a time.
Listen, I
If they
invite
have to want the
anybody
same thing
hearing
we
this to
do.
come, yeah, to come in or find a practice and go in and see it, right?
right,
But stand in a corner and watch it,
right.
right? Don't. I mean, ask questions maybe at the end of the day, but you know, don't ask about our forms and our procedure. You know,
It's not forms. It's not procedure.
ask
Right,
us about our vision, right?
right.
Ask our what our purpose is, and then figure out how to get there.
Excellent. That's
Yep.
So
guys, that's exactly what I was looking for when I threw that topic out there. So
sweet, cool.
we
Well,
hit the
good.
nail on the head. I think we need to really seriously think about putting on a seminar, even if
Yeah,
it's only for a handful of people.
that's.
And
I
it's
don't think
fun.
that would be tough to do if we individually invite people. There'll be 40 people there. You know, that maybe that's something we do. Maybe it's something we do.
Yeah.
It's up to you guys. All right.
I will tell you, looking at the views on Facebook, every month they go up a little bit for these. They're not huge yet, but so anybody that's watching this, pass it on. Right?
Yeah. Share it.
Appreciate it.
So, well, good. So next month we'll talk about Mike's book.
I think that's a great topic.
Cool. I appreciate
time.
that.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
Looking forward to it.
February 2nd, release date.
All right.
Release date.
Yeah.
Order it on Kindle now.
What's the name?
It's called Beyond the Adjustment. Essence of an elite practicing chiropractor.
So could we do any sort of bulk order through you, Mike, or?
Good question. I'll find out for you.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I want 20. I'm
Okay.
serious. I want 20 to pass out.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, same. At
Okay.
least 20 or 25 to start. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send them an email today. There must be some way to do that. There's no way to bulk order ebooks, but
Yeah, no, I want to get hard copy. Yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah,
let
I'll
us
find
know.
out today.
Yep.
I'll
Okay.
let you. Okay,
Perfect.
cool.
Thanks, guys.
Guys,
Love you
thank you
guys.
so much. Appreciate
Love
your
you.
time.
Talk to you next month.
Talk to you next
All right.
month.
See ya.